Welcome to Steps Forward with Ricki, a weekly walking podcast designed to help you take steps forward in your life and your day. Hello. Episode 12. Welcome. Glad to be here. Happy you're here. I actually haven't recorded an episode in a couple weeks. Sometimes we do them ahead of time. So it feels really nice to be back in the studio. And if you're new here, welcome. I'm Ricki. I am a entrepreneur, I'm a creator, I'm a speaker, I am a storyteller and a writer, and I'm a million things. I think we all are, and I'm very excited that you're here. And you should be walking. So if you're sitting, stand up, take a walk, take a listen. This is a walking podcast. If you're a regular listener, then you're probably already outside walking or on the treadmill, and I appreciate that, and I'm super happy that you're here. This episode is a hard one for me. You're like, what? They all seem pretty hard. They all are hard. This one is probably my hardest. I've been struggling a lot, and I've been feeling very ashamed of it. And I want to talk about what's going on with me. But before I talk about what's going on with me, I just wanted to say that, I put an episode out, episode 10, I think 2 weeks ago, and I was going through a little bit of a rough time. I still am, and I didn't promote the episode as much. And I know that the podcast really depends on me promoting it, and that's how people listen to it. That's how people find out about it, and that's how you get people to listen to things. You promote them, you put them out there. But I was going through a lot at the time, and I didn't promote it as much. And I felt really guilty about it. And it's really hard when you've worked really hard on something and you're dedicated to it and you're committed to it, but then life happens and showing up feels fucking hard. And promoting something when you feel like crap or when you feel like hiding is really hard. And so I didn't promote it as much. And I feel bad about it because it didn't do as well. I mean, it did good, but it didn't do as well as I think it would have had I pushed and pushed and pushed. And I have to forgive myself for it. You have to forgive yourself for not being able to show up on certain days or weeks or months because I'm only a human being. And sometimes we can't always just show up right away when we feel like we're suffering. And I was really having a hard week, and I regret not showing up, but I also have to forgive myself for not showing up. And so you have to forgive yourself for whatever it is you keep blaming yourself for, or you keep beating yourself up for. You have to forgive yourself. Like, it's okay. You're going to do better today. You're going to do better this week. I'm going to do better this week. And even though we can't take back the times that we don't show up, we can figure out a way to show up now. And it doesn't have to be a perfect journey. And obviously it's not. So I just wanted to say that really quickly. If you're going through something right now and you're unable to show up, maybe you do need a little break. Or maybe you need to forgive yourself for not showing up for the thing that you said you were going to show up for and take a step forward from that. Or maybe you need to forgive yourself for a lot of the shit in your life. I'm telling you, beating yourself up is heavy. And when you forgive yourself, you grow and you evolve, and then you can feel other emotions besides guilt and shame. And I know it's really hard, but I'm working really hard at forgiving myself for a lot of things in my life. And last week is one of them. Although it might seem small, it's a bigger thing, right? Because there's so many times in my life I haven't showed up because of where I'm at in my life. And there's a lot of things that I've done in my life that I feel bad about, but I'm working on forgiving myself. I learned that, I think it was, I don't know if it was NA or AA, someone told me that, they go to these meetings a lot, and the one thing that they've learned there is the first thought is not the final thought. That's just the first thought, right? I am stupid is just the first thought. I fucked up is just the first thought. What's the second thought? I'm great. I can do this, right? So I'm learning that the first thought is not the final thought. I didn't show up isn't the final thought. It's what I do next with my actions. So take a deep breath. Let's take a deep breath and take a step forward and change the thought, because you don't have to live like this. speaking of taking a step forward and forgiving myself, I want to share something with you. And it's really not easy for me, and I'm ashamed of it. And I don't like to even be in this position, but I have to be. I have to. If you've listened to my episodes, you've probably heard me talk a lot about addiction and talk a lot about pain and trauma and weed and the things in my life that I've struggled with that I not necessarily have overcome, but that I'm overcoming. Because sometimes we're in the process of becoming or unbecoming or overcoming, even if we haven't gotten there yet. And I have been keeping something to myself for probably last 16 years. I haven't, I have now. I hadn't really healed my relationship with smoking. Even when I talked about it on the podcast, and I never said that I was sober, but I was really struggling. I mean, I fell back into using marijuana again, a lot. And I've been sober now for 16 days. By the time you listen to this, it will probably be like 25 days. I'm not really sure. And this is the first time in my entire life that I'm becoming sober for me, which is not easy to say, because if you look at my life and you're like, oh, she's like coached so many people and she's a speaker and she's a creator and she's motivational and she talks about changing your life, yet I haven't taken all the steps to change my life. And that's really shameful and hard for me to express as someone, especially as someone that people look up to. And about 3 weeks ago, I had like a panic attack because I was smoking. And I was back in these terrible habits of getting high because I didn't want to be low. And I didn't know what to do. And I felt weird showing up here just because I'm talking about all these different things and I'm hiding something. And I just had this moment where I was like, wherever I'm running, I have to stop. Because I'm constantly running into the same issues. And the issues are internal. And for my entire life, I have been trying to figure out how to work through my pain outside of me. If I could just find my purpose, my person, live in the mountains, maybe I could do this, maybe I could do that, a new idea. And I've been running and running and running and running. And I literally fell to the ground. And when you decide that there's nowhere else to run, but back to you, it's really fucking painful. And I think that my whole life, truly, that I've spent motivating people and teaching people and guiding people and leading people, it's all been really authentic and true. But I don't know that I've really done the work for myself. I have a lot of emotional blocks that for the first time in my life, I'm really working through because I'm sober, because I'm talking about my pain. I am seeing a therapist. I am doing reprogramming of my brain. I am feeling my feelings, and I can't sit here and tell you that I've really done that before. Do you know how scared I've been to feel my feelings, to think about the anger and the pain and the lack of confidence that really lives within me, that has controlled every decision that I've ever made in my life? I have had every opportunity to be successful, to be where I want to be, to do this or to do that, and it's never happened the way that I wanted it to. And it's because of me. Not because I can't do it, but because I can't do it unless I heal. It's so interesting to me because there's so many business coaches, and I help people with their businesses as well, and I help them become successful. And I always say, like, I don't know a lot of entrepreneurs who are successful that aren't healed. How do you show up unhealed and get shit done? I mean, I've been so distracted, or I've been wanting to be so distracted from my own pain that I haven't even been able to be where I am. I mean, it's so hard for me to be present because I'm so distracted internally in my body, in my mind, in my thoughts. And it's been so painful for me to even just talk about it. Because when you talk about something and you realize something about yourself, then you have to change it. Not right away, but you have to change it. And it's taken me a really, really long time to realize that there's nowhere else to run besides back to me. And I don't know if you can relate to that. Maybe you show up and you talk about things or you heal certain things, but you know that there's deeper shit there. And you know that you're still smoking or drinking or staying in relationships or doing something that's just destructive. And you know that on some level, even though you're being good and you're making progress, you know that the other 80% is nothing is happening. And I'm telling you, ever since my mom died, and it makes me sad to even say that because it's not like I think about my mom all day. I truly don't. But when you go through trauma or you go through pain, especially as a child, or any age in your life, but especially as a child, you don't have to think about something for it to affect you. It like lives within you. Somewhere along the way, I picked up that life was hard, that I was stupid, that I couldn't do it, that I was an addict, or that I was unable to step into my potential, that when I start something, I couldn't finish it, that I wasn't worthy of love, that, that life would always feel a little empty for me. I believed that. I mean, I still believe that on some level. And it's hard for me to talk about because I don't think it makes me less of a leader, but sometimes I feel that way because I'm like, wow, you're so fucked up. Why do people want to listen to you? But I feel like my honesty is who I am. And I think that this is also, maybe you can relate to this. I think this is also what has played into my struggle of like having to be one thing, or like not really being able to figure out my purpose or my path, or being able to step into my truth of like who I am as a person or an entrepreneur, because I think that I've been focusing on the wrong thing. If I heal myself within and I take control of my mindset and I take control of the pain that's within my body, I'm going to find a lot more answers. And so are you. If you spend all this time thinking the next job and the next thing and the next person and the next vacation is going to be it, I'm telling you right now, I was in Colorado a week and a half, well, it'll be 2 weeks from now. My favorite place in the whole world. It was the most beautiful, it was fall. It was the most beautiful thing in the world. And I felt empty. And I was like, holy fucking shit. The place that gives me joy is making me feel nothing. And that was a moment for me, like, holy fucking shit. Not that people and places and things and purposes can't enhance you. They can. But if they're all of you and you can't be okay and sit with it and feel it, then what do you have? I mean, you're constantly chasing. And I have, I've been smoking to escape. Like the minute I feel something painful, I just wanted to smoke. And I did. And then you're lying to everybody in your life. And it's this like terrible cycle of guilt. And I'm just done. I'm done running away from myself. That doesn't mean that I'm like not scared. I'm fucking terrified. Like my whole life just changed. I'm not going to talk about all the things that have changed my life right now, but my whole life just changed. And I'm really scared about that. And I'm scared to be this honest because this is a different kind of honesty. This is like, oh wait, I'm really doing it this time. Like I'm sober, I'm alone, I'm here, I'm showing up, and I'm actually doing the work. And it's really painful. And I know that you can relate to that, especially if you're as crazy as me, and you must be if you're listening to this week after week. But you can't be a leader to other people if you're not a leader to yourself. And I really, in my heart, think it's been very hard for me to enjoy things in my life. I have been very distracted. It's hard for me. I remember I used to speak on stages and I would get off and I'd feel nothing. Or like when I used to be a life coach helping people, I feel nothing. Sometimes when I create things for my clients, create videos or do this or do that, I don't feel much. That's bigger than me, right? That's like an emotional block of like, what don't you believe that you're allowed to have? What about you has stopped you from living your life and feeling everything and allowing yourself to feel happy and joyful and excited for the things that you contribute to the world? And I realized that like when I start a project, I have that high. And so I do get that emotion of feeling good and excited, but then it wears off. And then I just want to get high or I want to start something else. And I'm constantly running and running and running and running. And it nothing has changed. Like the feeling that I feel or have felt since I was 13 years old, like it literally has never changed. The difference now is that I'm feeling it. Even though I'm not real 100% sure like what it is, I'm so committed to the work now because I don't know that there's any other way. And this podcast has really helped me because I feel guilty showing up here, not a leader in my own life. And sometimes we need a little kick in the ass and we need the accountability to show up. And it's really painful. So if you're working on your sobriety and if you're heartbroken, if you're moving, if you're making a change in your life, if you're trying to be healthier or heal your trauma, like I hear you, I see you. It's really hard, but not as hard as staying where you're at. Though it might feel easier to smoke or to get a drink or to stay in your relationship or to skip your workout or to not go to your therapist or whatever it is that you're doing. I know it feels easier in the short term, but short-term thinking doesn't bring you long-term happiness. You have to do the work. And you need community and you need support and you need different perspectives to do the work. But the most thing that you need is honesty. You can't heal your life if you're not honest. And the first person you need to be honest with is you. And that is the hardest person to be honest with. Let me tell you something right now. It is way harder for me to admit all of this to myself than it is to hear to you. This is freeing. This is like, oh, okay, I can breathe. I don't have to pretend anymore. I don't have to feel guilty and ashamed. Though it's hard talking about it, it's not as hard as what it was talking about it to myself and saying, wow, you're an addict. Or wow, you feel empty. Or wow, you need to take some time to yourself. Or wow, you're not present in your life. I mean, the minute you can face yourself, you can face the world. But I've been doing it backwards. I've been trying to face the world, trying to help other people, trying to do this, trying to do that, trying to find this idea and trying to figure it out outside of me. But it's within me. It's within you. And it doesn't happen overnight. You have to be committed to it. And this is the first time in my whole life, I'm 33 years old, that I'm actually committed. I've been sober now, my decision, not because I had to be, because I wanted to be. And I'm getting a therapist and I'm showing up here and I'm talking about it and I'm taking small steps forward. And I feel because I'm doing that right now, I actually can tell you that you need to do that because I'm doing it. And the truth really hurts, but not as much as the lies you tell yourself, because they sit within you and the pain and the trauma, and it just like you wake up and you're empty and then you're on a high and then you're empty and it's just this vicious cycle. And so I'm so committed to liking who I am. I'm so committed to healing that little girl inside of me and to stepping into my leadership and to figuring out who I am and my purpose and my path. And I'm committed to honesty. I know that I'm so real and raw, and you must be thinking, but how much more honest can this human being get? Well, let me tell you something real quick that I've learned is that you think you know the story about someone and you don't even know half of it. Even if they're fucking honest. Assume that there's something that you don't know. People aren't honest, especially to themselves. And if I was so honest with myself, I'd probably be a lot further in my life. It's the truth. So I'm coming on here and I'm sharing my secrets with you, and I'm telling you that I've been struggling and I'm on my way, and it sucks and it's painful, but if I can do it, you can do it. And we can do it together. And you can take your walks with me if you're feeling anxious, and you can know that you're not alone on this and that you might not be able to do this alone. So if you need outside help, like groups or therapy or medicine or yoga or just NA, AA, whatever the fuck you need, stop running from it. It's not that you're helpless. It's that we're not designed to do everything on our own. And I'm so sick of trying because I don't have to try to do it alone. And I just hope you know that, it's really hard, and I'm sorry that if you're in pain right now. I'm really in pain too. I truly am. But I also feel a sense of release or relief. Release or relief, because I feel when you allow yourself to feel, that's where the growth comes. And I literally couldn't fucking do it anymore. I couldn't lie to myself. I couldn't lie to you. I couldn't lie to myself. I don't want to just fix everybody else's issues. I want to work on me. I want to be happy and full and fulfilled. And I don't know that I've ever felt like I deserved that. And I'm sad right now and I'm struggling, but I'm going to do this. And I hope that in next week and the week after that and a month from now and 2 months from now that like I come back here and I'm like fucking just on my way. But only if I get out of my way. So that was super depressing. You might need to take another walk just to comprehend everything that just was said to you. But I want you to know that you're not alone. And I hope you had a great walk and that you are feeling more powerful and more brave to be honest with who you are and what you're going through so that you can get through it. And I'm here for you, and I am you, and we can do this together. So I will see you next week. I will see you next Monday, and I hope you had a great walk. If you liked this episode, DM me, leave me a review on Apple Podcasts, not just the rating. You have to actually leave a review. Send this to somebody that you know that's struggling. Reach out to me, tag me as you walk. Like, we're in this together and we got this. So I love you. You're great. If you're a new listener, hopefully you become a regular listener, and let's fucking do this. See you Monday.